Okay, they're ready. Yeah, go ahead and feel the music.
Good evening, everyone. Everybody can find their seats. We're going to give everybody from the outside just a couple of seconds to get in, and then we're going to get... Okay, there's audience participation tonight, okay? Aren't we excited? Yes, let's hear it. Okay, we're going to get started in just a couple of seconds.
Spring into Health Speaker Series. My name is Liz Antea, and I'm co-chair of Polk Wellness Professionals along with Debbie Zimmerman. Polk Wellness Professionals are individuals in the Polk County area who have a passion for wellness and a love for our community. Our mission is to collaboratively promote wellness leadership and a culture of health in Polk County. Our vision is to provide professional support and to foster a community of active, health-conscious citizens. If you are someone interested in the wellness of our community, we encourage you to join Polk Wellness Professionals to help us build a stronger, healthier tomorrow.
Hi, and my name is Debbie Zimmerman, and I'm co-chair with Liz. Polk Wellness Professionals began 9 years ago, and we have been working with our corporations, our individuals in the community, and community groups to build a healthier, stronger Polk County. We've worked with Polk Vision and building a healthier Polk, and we're trying to make a real difference where we live and where our families call home. You may not know, but in 2017, the World Health Organization completed the Global Burden of Death study, and the results were published. Okay? The Lancet in April 2019. Worldwide, poor diets were linked to 11 million deaths in 2007. You are probably thinking heart disease is one of those. And unfortunately, it's not. Heart disease did claim 9.5 million deaths that year, but poor diets surpassed all heart disease, all cancer, and all deaths from diabetes combined in 2017. So if you're wondering, what can we do to change our diet? Let's look at the top reasons we need to make a change. 3.3 million lives were taken or could be saved by reducing sodium. 3 million lives could be saved if we increase whole grains, not grains, whole grains. 2.4 million lives could be saved by increasing the amount of fruit we eat every day. 2 million lives could be saved by increasing nuts and seeds. 1.5 million for increasing veggies, and almost 1 million by increasing our intake of fiber. All of those are plant-based items. So we know we have a lot to do. It is a big job. Last year, we began planning the Spring into Health Speaker Series just about a year from today. And we are thrilled to see it all come to fruition.
Thank you for that information, Debbie. Now we want to recognize and thank our wonderful sponsors that helped this event come to life. First of all, we offer a huge thank you to Florida Southern College for allowing us to use their beautiful facilities, Branscombe Auditorium for this event, and the Annie Pfeiffer Chapel for our event with Dr. Greger on March 23rd. So thank you, Florida Southern College. We also want to thank our title sponsor, Veracity EBMS, for their very generous support, and we had planned to have two representatives share with us a little bit about their company. They were coming from Atlanta. Unfortunately, they missed their flight. But we still want to give them kudos and a big thank you. We'd also like to thank our gold sponsors, and we do have some of them in the audience. Fitnish. Go see them for your running and shoe needs. And Baycare is also a gold sponsor. They're doing screenings out front. And thank you to our silver sponsors, Stahl and Associates Insurance, FidoFit, Allen and Company, and OMS. Without their support, we couldn't have made this event happen. So please make sure to visit their tables on your way out if you've not already done so. Thank you also to Lovely Design for creating and Aerolitho for printing our beautiful flyers. Last but certainly not least, we'd like to thank the other members of our committee for their time and enthusiastic generosity given towards helping this event materialize. Sarah Hodges, Shotzi Haynes, Sarah Terrell, Abby Elias, and Kathy Thornhill. College students in attendance tonight. Any out there? Yay! Thank you so much for being here, and please know that this is a passport event, health and wellness. So to receive your passport credit, students can see Dr. Sarah Terrell at the white table outside of the auditorium after the talk is completed. Please know that after Dr. Klaper's presentation, there will be a time for Q&A. So please make a note of all questions you'd like to ask. Now Debbie is going to introduce you to the star of our evening, Dr. Klaper.
Dr. Michael Klaper is a gifted clinician, internationally recognized teacher, and sought-after speaker on diet and health. Excuse me. In addition to his clinical practice and private consultations with patients, he is a passionate and devoted educator of physicians and other healthcare professionals about the importance of nutrition in clinical practice and integrative medicine. Dr. Klaper graduated from the University of Illinois College of Medicine in 1972. He served a medical internship at Vancouver General Hospital in British Columbia, Canada, and received training in surgery, anesthesiology, orthopedics, and obstetrics. Dr. Klaper served as the director of the Institute of Nutrition Education and Research from 1992 to 2015, where he conducted a study that focused on people who ate a completely plant-based or vegan diet. Dr. Klaper practiced acute care medicine in New Zealand for 3 years, and from 2009 through 2018, served on staff at the True North Health Center, North America's premier nutritionally based medical clinic that specializes in therapeutic fasting and health improvements through a whole food, plant-based diet. A member of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, Dr. Klaper was a member of the American Medical Student Association's Nutrition Task Force and currently serves on the advisory board for the Plantrition Project and the International Journal of Disease Reversal and Prevention. Now,
we are thrilled to ask you to please help us welcome Dr. Michael Klaper.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Liz. Thank all of you for coming out on this beautiful evening to consider how to make your diet and your health a bit healthier. I certainly want to thank not only all of you for coming, but to thank Debbie, Liz, and your entire production team for creating this wonderful event, and all the sponsors who stepped up to make a gift to the community of information that might help save some lives and make this a better world on a lot of levels. So thank you to all. This is my first trip to Lakeland, and I must tell you, I don't know what's more beautiful, the physical layout of your wonderful city or the people who are here. They're just lovely, lovely people. Everyone's been nicer than the next. So you should take justifiable pride in this beautiful place that you live and you created. Okay, well, the topic of the evening is food as medicine. I wish somebody told me this in medical school, but I've had to learn it on the job. How many of you have heard, in general, that plant-based diets are generally a good thing associated with health? Fair enough. Well, in this next hour, we're going to get into a bit of why plant-based diets are a good thing for you. We're going to talk about the science behind reversing diseases. And for that reason, the topic, let's assume that is going to work. Already? All right. This is really going to be disease prevention. These are all preventable diseases, but they are eminently reversible diseases through plant-based nutrition. That's really what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about running a human body on a healing fuel mixture and exploring how the healing actually happens. Enough of the sound bites and the screens on the internet. Let's really talk some solid science here about why it makes sense to nourish your body on a plant-based diet. This may be a disruptive message to some folks, especially if you're a physician, because it connects food to health. And we physicians have practiced medicine like what our patients are eating has no effect on these diseases they're bringing to us to treat. And for that, I apologize to all of you on behalf of my profession, who, if you have ever gone to your doctor and asked them about, well, what food do you think would help? Do you think changing my diet would help? And they roll their eyes and they want you to leave the office. For every doctor who ever did that to you, I deeply apologize for their ignorance and their arrogance and depriving you of such a powerful therapeutic tool that you can use to get yourself healthier. We're going to be talking about the differences between the food streams based on animal products versus plant-based. What the profound changes that happen when you change the food stream going through your tissues from one based basically on animal muscle, making eggs and cheeseburgers and pizzas, etc., to a plant-based diet, the profound changes that produces in your body. I'm going to be sharing those with you. I just want to assure you that opening one's mind to new ideas for an hour is absolutely safe. So sit back, and if even one phrase strikes you, say, wow, I didn't realize that. Or really? And it changes the way you look at food, whether in the restaurant or in the supermarket or in your own refrigerator. Good. That was the object of the exercise, and it's been time well spent. The German philosopher Goethe said, what you know about, you see. Once you know about something, you start seeing it everywhere. And I'm hoping to increase your knowledge about food in your own body so you start seeing the realities of what lies in front of you when you order a meal in a restaurant or go shopping. My day job, after 45 years in emergency rooms, operating rooms, outpatient clinics, and at the True North Health Center, and it's wonderful seeing patients and helping them get healthy one at a time, but it's too slow. I can't spend the rest of my career just helping people one at a time. There's a bigger task involved, and that is going to the medical schools of this country and Canada and Mexico and Australia and New Zealand and talking to the first and second and third year medical students and reaching them before what I call pharmacosclerosis sets into their brains, that drugs are the only treatment for disease, and try to turn on the nutritional light in their head. It's what your patients are eating. And that's why they're sitting in front of you, obese and diabetic and hypertensive and clogged up and inflamed. And before you order another $1,000 scan and order another $500 set of blood tests, ask your patients what they ate yesterday. Because that's the real cause of their disease, and that therein lies the potential for cure. So our initiative is called Moving Medicine Forward, and here at the University of Florida in Gainesville, actually, and talking to the young medical students, and I'm going to spend the rest of my career as much as possible trying to turn on the light of nutrition in the minds of these young docs, as well as the general public. If you'd like to find out about what we're doing, go to my website, drklaper.com, and click on Moving Medicine Forward, and you'll see exactly what we're doing, what medical schools I'll be visiting next, as well as how you could help us with some financial support for the tax-deductible donation, which certainly we appreciated. Those plane tickets are expensive. When I get in front of the medical students, I tell them, look, you're learning about all sorts of weird and wonderful diseases in pathology class and physical diagnosis. You're learning about leprosy and smallpox and all these amazing diseases that you will never see in your career. The reality is, when you get out in the real world and you open the door in the waiting room of your office or in the emergency department or in the surgical outpatient waiting room, what you're going to see is a large group of people with a small group of diseases. Most of them are overweight, if not clinically obese. They have diseases of their arteries showing up as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, clogged arteries causing angina and strokes and blue legs. Their insulin receptors are clogged up from the fat, so they have type 2 diabetes. And they have inflammation running rampant in their body, affecting all sorts of organ systems, from their lungs causing asthma, their intestinal tract causing Crohn's and colitis, their joints inflamed with arthritis, lupus, autoimmune diseases. This is Western medicine in the 21st century, and these young students have to learn about it and get comfortable helping their patients get past this. But when the erstwhile young students opens up their textbook and gets online to learn the cause of these diseases, they run into two words that stop all further thought. Etiology unknown. We don't know the cause of high blood pressure. We don't know the cause of type 2 diabetes. We don't know the cause of obesity. And the implication is, as a lowly primary care doc, this is much too complex for you to understand, but don't worry, the smart researchers at NIH and Harvard are working 24/7 in those labs to tease out the last little enzymatic mechanisms, and then they'll understand these diseases and they'll come up with amoxicillin that you give to your patients and restore them to glowing health overnight. Ain't gonna happen. That's a fantasy. But these two words do a lot of damage, because if you don't know the cause of a disease, you can't cure it. If you can't cure the disease, then that reduces the doctor to the role of disease manager. We'll manage your high blood pressure. We'll manage your diabetes. We'll manage your obesity. I tell the students, look, I did not go into medicine to manage chronic disease. I wanted to cure people. And every single one of these diseases are reversible. But we don't tell them that. We tell these patients, you're going to be sick the rest of your life. You will never get better. You will always have high blood pressure. You will take these pills the rest of your life. You're diabetic, you will always be diabetic. You will take insulin and metformin the rest of your life. You will never get, what a dismal, hopeless message to give to your patients and for the doctor. What a dismal way to practice medicine. And you talk to them, and the cardiologists, they all get sick, they all get clogged up, they all going to need stents, they're all going to need bypass. That's right, doctor. If you don't talk to them about what they're eating, that's exactly what you're going to see. But the reality is, the truth of it is, the biological reality is that every single one of these diseases is reversible. Every one of us docs who practices a lifestyle medicine that focuses on plant-based diets and healthy lifestyle practices, we have folders full of patients who used to be obese, who used to have high blood pressure, who used to have high cholesterol, who used to have type 2 diabetes, who used to have angina, who used to have asthma, who used to have colitis. All these diseases go away. We've all seen it happen. Doctors need to tell you this, you need to know this, so you're not a victim of the system, and the doctors need to know this. And the real issue is reversibility. I wish somebody had taught, I practiced medicine 45 years before anybody put these two words in the same sentence. These are reversible diseases. I'll tell you more about reversible diseases, but it starts with what you eat, a big clue. Etiology unknown, my foot. When these kids say, well, we don't know the etiology, I say, get real. Look at what your patients are eating. That's why they're sitting in front of you. Every 4 hours they surge. A saturated fat, cooked animal protein, refined sugars, and phosphoric acid from the colon drinks, and high fructose corn syrup, and emulsifiers in the process food. All these things flow through every tissue in your body and they cause disease, and that's what you're looking at, doctor. I wish in medical school somebody had sat me down and said, before we get into genetic anomalies and various aberrations of medicine, let's talk about the effect of what the patient's daily diet, what meal after meal after meal really does as it flows through your tissues. I wish somebody in physiology or pathology had sat me down and told me what I'm going to tell you now. Here is what you all need to know. If you eat a whole food, plant-based diet, when we say whole foods, we're talking about foods, plant foods, that you could recognize that they were growing in the garden. Oh, there's cucumber over there, oh, tomato over there, oh, there are peas over there. Whole foods, like was growing in the garden, because that's the whole food part of it. And plant-based, yes, it doesn't run away from you when you think about eating it for lunch. If you have a meal based on whole plant foods, like this one, here's a nice colorful salad, a hearty bowl of vegetable bean soup, here's quinoa and zucchini boats, here's a nice steamed green yellow vegetables. You have a meal like this. And an hour later, I would sneak up on you, and when you weren't looking, I pull out a needle and a syringe, and I draw 5 cc's of blood into a glass tube, and I let it clot and spin it down in a centrifuge. The blood would look like this. The red clot goes to the bottom, the liquid part of the blood, the serum, rises to the top, and the serum should be crystal clear. You can read newsprint from normal serum. This is what your blood should look like after you eat a meal. And all the folks here are eating whole food, plant-based diet without a bunch of oil on it. And that's what your blood looks like tonight, assuming you've come here after dinner, or hopefully what it'll look like after you go home and have dinner. This is what your blood would look like after a meal. But you have a standard Western meal, you have bacon and eggs for breakfast, a cheeseburger for lunch, a fried chicken for dinner, or a pizza. You eat a meal, I got some mouth water in there, right? You eat a meal like this, and an hour later, I sneak up on you with that syringe, and I draw 5 cc's of blood and spin it down in a centrifuge. What you're going to see is blood that looks like this. This creamy material here, this is called lipemia. Lipemia means fat in the blood. That's what the word means. Postprandial means after eating. This is fat in the blood after eating. Not everybody shows the fat this optically densely, but everybody has a wave of fat that goes through your bloodstream after you eat a fatty meal. How can you not? Where else is it going to go? Of course your blood turns fatty. And your blood stays fatty for 5 hours. Serious about that number. Here's Cole's classic study. They gave someone a fatty meal at hour 0, and they draw blood once an hour for 6 hours. And they take those 6 blood tubes and they put them one after another into an instrument that measures how fatty the blood is looking. And you can see the blood is getting fattier and fattier and fattier and fattier. It takes the liver a good 5 hours to begin to clear the fat out of the blood. Not a good thing to happen, because during this 5 hours of your blood running with fat, evil things are happening to your body. Damage is happening. The artery walls get injured, the saturated fats tear up the endothelial lining, the inner lining of the artery walls, opening the stage for plaque formation and heart attacks and strokes. As the fat in the blood goes through the abdominal fat stores, it sticks there, and so people get more obese after a meal like this. This clogs up the insulin receptors and sets the person up for type 2 diabetes. I'll be talking more about that in a minute. And saturated fats fan inflammation. They are pro-inflammatory, whatever you've heard. No, saturated fats, they're not good for you. No, they are not. They never work. And there's a number of reasons, but one reason is that they promote inflammation throughout the body. So this is what's happening during those 5 hours after you've eaten a fatty meal. Well, think of what that means when you consider how most Americans run their eating day. They start their morning off with something fatty, making an egg, bacon muffin, or whatever, and for the next 5 hours, their blood is running thick with fat, their arteries are getting injured, their obesity is increasing, their inflammation's going up, they're getting more insulin resistant. Takes the liver till about noontime to begin to clear the breakfast fat out of the blood, when at noontime, time for lunch. And the person gets burger or pizza, and another wave of fat goes in the bloodstream. And all afternoon for the next 5 hours, their arteries are injured, their obesity is increasing, their inflammation's going up, they're getting more diabetic. Takes the liver until about 6 in the evening to begin to clear the lunchtime fat out of the blood, when time to visit the colonel and send another wave of fat to the bloodstream. And the blood stays fatty all evening, injuring the arteries, making more obese, making more diabetic, making more inflamed. Takes the liver till about 10 o'clock at night to begin to clear the dinner time fat out of the bloodstream, when on the way back to the bedroom, you stop and polish off that pint of Haagen-Dazs and go to bed like that. And I tell the young students, when you open the door in your waiting room, the reality is the majority of people sitting in those chairs waiting to see you have blood that looks like this. Most Americans are keeping their blood fatty all day. Stuff never clears out of the bloodstream. Keep your blood fatty 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Can't be shocked when some disease processes show up in the body, and I will share some of those with you over these next few minutes. Now, I've been focusing on the fat in the blood. Oh, I'll just eat low fat. I'm using fat as a marker for the physiologic effects that happen in your body, but there's a lot more in that blood besides fat that will do you harm if you're eating a standard Western fast food kind of diet. This is a high salt diet. There's salt in the meat, salt in the cheese, salt in the fries, salt in the snack food, salt in the pizza. This is a high sodium diet. The sodium gets into the walls of the arteries and stiffens them and makes you retain fluid to dilute out the salt. As a result, the blood pressure goes up, setting you up for strokes and kidney failure. But also we're finding out that the sodium atoms in the salt turn on immune cells that set people up for autoimmune diseases like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. High salt diets are not helpful. You want to consume about 500 milligrams of sodium per meal, 1,500 total during the day, and there's a pinch of salt at the table. But the problem is the salt's already in these processed foods. You can't control it. It's already in the cheese. It's already in the meat. It's already in the tomato sauce at the Olive Garden. It's in the tamari sauce at the Japanese restaurant. It's in the processed food. It's where all this sodium's coming from, and we're winding up sick because of it. So sodium is one issue that we need to take into consideration in designing a healthy diet. We're just saying don't add extra salt to your food beyond a little pinch at the table, but don't cook with it because it goes into the food and you can't taste it. You put a lot of salt in it and not even taste it. Then there's sugar. Now everybody likes a sweet taste, and I don't have a problem with a half a teaspoon of maple syrup in your tea. That's the proper use of sweeteners as a flavoring. Cool. The problem is eating sugar as a food. When you are eating a cupcake or a donut or chocolate chip cookies or drinking a Coke, you're eating sugar as a food. 100 grams of glucose and fructose flush into your tissues after a cookie gorge. And this is not a good thing. Why? Well, you ever spill maple syrup on a table, you know, everything gets sticky. Well, that's what happens in your body. Proteins get sticky. The sugar, the glucose, and the fructose stick to proteins all over the body. You say the sugar molecules glycosylate the protein. What's so bad about that? Well, what's so bad about it is a basic chemical reaction that every baker knows very well, and that's the Maillard reaction. The Maillard reaction says you take sugars and combine with protein and heat them up. You're going to create something called advanced glycation end product. What the hell does all this mean? Well, in the bakery, the sugar's the pastry flour, the protein's the wheat gluten, the heat comes from the oven. And the sugars stick to the gluten, and as they heat it up, as they get heated up, they oxidize, and it turns into this amorphous mass, this mat of bastardized, oxidized proteins, which is what constitutes the crust of bread. And that's why bread crust turns brown. And if you look at it under the microscope, the gluten strands and the sugars are all matted together into an amorphous mass of oxidized proteins. That's great on the surface of a French baguette, but you don't want to run the Maillard reaction in your body. You don't want to run the Maillard reaction in the proteins of the lens of your eye. It's a great way to set yourself up for cataracts. You don't want to run the Maillard reaction on the elastin fibers in your skin. It's a great way to give yourself skin that looks like an old suitcase. You don't want to run the Maillard reaction on the inner lining of the blood vessels in your brain. Those are the membranes that across which oxygen has to pass to nourish your brain cells. And indeed, when they examine the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease, they are loaded up with advanced glycation end products. And so eating sugar as a food is a problem. You want something sweet, have a mango, have some grapes, have a papaya. Yay, that's how to satisfy your sweet tooth. But don't be eating sugar as a food and think you're getting away with it. You are aging yourself. It's no accident, I don't think, that the initials of advanced glycation end products, AGE, it ages you. That's the exact problem that we're talking about. And if you need a little visual reminder that eating sugar as a food ages you, here it is written out for you. And here's a young woman about to do that act. She's about to eat a chunk of sugar as food, and she does. And it gets into her tissues and glycosylates her proteins, and her body heat oxidizes, and she runs the Maillard reaction in all the tissues in her body. 6 months later, eating sugar ages you. Don't be eating it as a food. It's a flavoring and treat it as such. So I've talked to you about a couple of ways that commonly enjoyed tastes, basically, and the foods that hyper-pelletize them, the extra salty foods and the extra sugary foods, how they cause damage in your body. I will call your attention to the fact that the sugar and the salt are amply found in vegan junk foods, and the candy bars and the energy drinks and the vegan cookies and all that stuff. They're loaded with the salt and the sugar that will hurt you, age you. Just because it's vegan doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy. So free yourself from that idea. You want whole plant foods. So vegan junk foods can be an issue. The folks who are already eating this way already know this. What I want to call your attention to is what I bring around to the medical students, and that is how dramatically the diet changes qualitatively when you add in the presence of animal muscle. When you add meat to the diet, you are adding an entire layer of toxic substances that cause damage and mischief in tissues throughout the body. When I'm talking to the medical student, to a medical audience, I go through each one of these toxins in detail, and we talk about the biochemistry and the physiology and the pathology that results from this. This is not a medical lecture, and so I'm going to quickly run this list for you. Trust me, eating animal flesh is stunning in the amount and variety of toxic molecules that it introduces to your bloodstream. First of all, nobody eats raw meat. It's all cooked and grilled and boiled and fried. And the very act of cooking animal muscle oxidizes the cholesterol that's in every cell membrane. So you wind up with oxidized cholesterol particles. These are highly atherogenic. They work their way into the walls of the arteries and set off the process that results in atherosclerotic plaque. So the very act of cooking animal muscle sets you up for atherosclerosis. The very act of cooking animal muscle means you're cooking the nucleic acids and the proteins, and that's going to create a whole bunch of reactive aldehydes, glyoxylactylene, so what? Well, they're mutagenic. They mess up your genes. They flow through your cells and they injure the genes on your DNA, predisposing to cancer, to autoimmune diseases. These are mutagenic molecules that you don't want to send a flood through your tissues, but that's exactly what happens with every chicken breast, burger, and fish fillet. New 5-GC, this is a sialic acid that only animals make. And if you stain for it, you'll find it's in inflammatory reactions throughout the body. It's a highly inflammatory molecule, and it's involved in joint disease, in artery disease, and our paleo friends are giving themselves a shot of sialic of New 5-GC 3 times a day, and they're, I'm afraid, going to pay a price for that. Endotoxin, spent a half hour on this, but every piece of meat passes in the slaughterhouse. And at the slaughterhouse on the cutting tables, they pick up the gut bacteria from the animals. These bacteria die, their cell walls break apart, releasing a stuff called endotoxin. This injures the gut wall, allows the food proteins to leak into the bloodstream, flow through joint membranes, set off autoimmune diseases. Endotoxin is nasty stuff, and it's heat stable. Cooking a burger does not get rid of the endotoxin. TMAO, the microbes that get spawned in our gut from a meat-based diet are nasty bugs. The food you eat determines the microbes that live in your gut. You eat a bunch of sugar, you're going to summon up sugar-eating microbes. Well, you eat a bunch of meat, you're eating lots of carnitine and choline. You're going to summon up microbes that eat carnitine and choline. And when you pop down that next salmon steak or chicken breast, those microbes will turn the choline and carnitine into trimethylamine oxide. This is a molecule from hell. This drives cholesterol into the artery walls and accelerates atherosclerotic plaque formation. The very act of cooking animal muscle will create carcinogenic amines. These are cancer-causing substances on the surface of the fecal mass that, as it goes through your intestines, smears on the gut wall, and as the fecal mass sits in the colon day after day and rubs on the gut wall, it sets off colon cancers. The meat eaters are far more susceptible to colon cancers than the vegans. Heme iron, the stuff that makes red meat red. The bodybuilders, oh, I want my heme iron. No, you don't. This stuff leaps into the bloodstream. The iron that's in plants, that's in spinach and dark greens, the intestine can keep that iron out. If your iron stores in your bone marrow are already full up, you don't want more iron, you don't want iron overload. And the plant-based iron is able to be kept out by the intestinal wall, but not the heme iron. No matter how much iron you've got in your tissues, heme iron leaks into your bloodstream, deposits all over the body, and these heme guys eating their red steaks are setting themselves up for iron overload, which increases their risk for strokes and cancers. The animals in the feedlot these people are eating are fed bushels of grains that are sprayed with herbicides and pesticides and antibiotics and growth promoters. And as that poor cow stands in that stanchion and eats bushel after bushel, or the sheep, or the goose, or the chicken, eats these grains, these toxic hydrocarbons deposit in the animal's muscles. They bioconcentrate. And so every chicken breast you bite into and every steak you cut into has the accumulated pesticides and herbicides and antibiotics that was fed to that animal during the time that they were in the feedlot. And very active eating meat will make your liver put out IGF-1. This promotes cancer growth throughout the body, as well as those inflammatory saturated fats I mentioned. So this is what you send through your bloodstream with every meal based on the muscle of an animal. And because most Americans eat a flesh-based diet, if there's no meat, they say, hey man, where's my protein? Got to have some meat on the plate. So most Americans are sending this through their bloodstream every 4 or 5 hours. And the paleo folks and the keto folks make it a point to send this through your bloodstream in a few hours. Well, I'll just eat fish. Don't kid yourself. We've been treating the oceans like sewers. And virtually all the fish that we're pulling out have measurable levels of mercury and pesticides and dioxins and now microplastics. It's time to let the fish off the hook. It's time to let the oceans heal already. We have strip mined the oceans. We clear cut the oceans. It's time to let what few fish are left reproduce and repopulate the seas. Why does this matter? For this reason that everyone in the audience needs to know. The digestive system is so efficient that within minutes of eating anything, molecules of that food are flowing through every cell in your body where your DNA lies unfolded. And as the molecules from whatever you ate, what steak, what burger, what fish fillet you eat, flows through your cells, in your tissues, they flow over your DNA strands and they play your DNA like a piano. And your food molecules turn genes on, they turn genes off. They induce enzymes, they shut enzymes down. Every meal changes you on a genetic, molecular level. In this age of digital information, we can't be shocked that food brings in not only nutrients, it brings in information, changes us. And you don't need to be a geneticist to understand that the genes that are going to be turned on by this food and all the toxic molecules that it sends through your tissues and plays your DNA, the genes that are going to be turned on by this food, is going to be a totally different set of genes than those that are going to be turned on by this food. That sends a surge of phytonutrients through your tissues that are stabilizing, that are antioxidant, that promote tissue repair, that heal breaks in DNA. It's a fundamental difference between animal flesh and plant foods. It's in the computer world, it's between 1 and 0. You're either running animal flesh in your tissues or you're not. And it makes such a huge difference as far as the diseases that wind up being created in your body. Your genes may load the gun, but your diet and your lifestyle pull the trigger. What does that mean? You may have a genetic propensity in your family to diabetes or colon cancer or whatever, but whether that disease actually manifests in your particular body depends on the food you're flowing through your tissues meal after meal after meal, month after month, year after year. We're not a victim here. Here you see the power of food affecting genetics. On the left-hand side, this is a biopsy of a man with early-stage prostate cancer. And the staining has brought out the active, these are called oncogenes, these are genes that promote cancer growth. And these red patches here, these are all active oncogenes that are promoting cancer growth. The man went on a whole food plant-based diet, lots of salads and soups and lentil stews and bean chilies. Ran a whole food plant-based diet through his prostate and the rest of his body for 6 solid months. They then did a repeat biopsy. Same guy, same prostate. And this is the scan that they found looking at them. Same genes, but these red-hot oncogenes have now been silenced. This is the power of food. This is the power of what every meal can do in your body. And especially if you do have a family history of cancer. Your body is never not okay. Okay? You can't tell your body, look at me, you didn't have a cheeseburger there yet. You can't. Your body knows, your arteries know, your liver knows, your breast knows, your prostate knows, your colon knows. Who are you kidding? This is get real time. The food will change you in one of 2 ways. It will change you either directly, the way the new 5-DC turns on inflammation, or the food will change the microbes in your gut, and they will change you. Because the microbes in your microbiome, they are not innocent bystanders. They're not passive observers. They actively metabolize the food you eat, and their waste products are molecules like norepinephrine and dopamine and GABA. And these are neurotransmitters that get into your brain, affect your mood, your thought, your desires. What we eat influences us in tremendous ways that we've just been ignoring up till now. Taking responsibility of this. Well, is this food going to make me healthier or not, is the question to ask. You know, but it's easier than I don't want eating to become an anxiety-producing event. As long as you eat whole plant foods, you don't have to worry about this stuff. It's the processed foods and the animal-based foods that cause the mischief. So I turn to the young docs, and I get practicing physicians, young attending physicians, young surgeons, internists, cardiologists, and I say, listen, if you are approving that your patient eat a standard American diet, and you have the bacon and eggs breakfast and cheeseburger for lunch and pizza for dinner, they're eating that, or you are actively promoting a paleo diet or a keto diet where you are telling them 2-3 times a day, you pack your intestines full of meat. What you are saying is that I am sanctioning, I'm approving you percolating these molecules through every one of your tissues, meal after meal, day after day, month after month, year after year. You just keep running these molecules through your tissues. It's fine. No problem with it. You'll be okay. That's what our caveman ancestors ate. They only lived to age 40. Before eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. They conveniently ignored that. But if you are giving yourself permission to eat a paleo or a keto diet, or your doctor is sanctioning it, know that you're choosing to run these molecules through your bloodstream and through your tissues day after day. I'll just call your attention to the fact that the Colorado River cut the Grand Canyon day after day after day after day after day. This is the power of persistence. And so I'm talking about what these molecules do to your body, meal after meal after meal, month after month, year after year. I asked the young guys, does your patient's blood carry these molecules day after day, or doesn't it? If you say yes, and people run these molecules through their tissues for 20 years, 30 years, suddenly the doctor's amazed that inflammation now is breaking out all over the body, in the joints, and the skin, and the lungs, etc. He's mystified why the arteries have become injured. Now they're growing plaque on the inside. Gee, how did that happen? There must be LDL's too high. He's absolutely mystified. Gee, your guts, you're finding antibodies against all these foods. Boy, they must be leaking down through your gut wall. Gee, how did that happen? Etiology unknown. Well, we don't know why that happens. And that colon cancer you sprout on your gut wall, gee, luck of the draw. It must have been bad family history. The thought that what the patient's eating has anything to do with these diseases doesn't register in the minds of Western physicians, for which I sincerely apologize and for which I'm working full-time to correct. Get real, doctors. Get real patients. It's amazing to me that medical science can identify a genetic mismatch on gene 821 on chromosome 14. Boy, they can home in on that with precision. But the thought that cheeseburgers and pepperoni pizzas might be clogging up our patients' arteries, this is too abstruse for my colleagues to comprehend. And so I talk to the docs who are recommending these paleo diets, these keto diets. They're giving this drive-by, oh yeah, you should eat paleo. And they never see the patient again. Healthcare is very episodic. You don't see the same doc again in the clinic. The patients move, doctors move, but patients keep following this diet. And I asked the young docs who give this advice, you're going to be around in 10 years when this person gets a stroke from that carotid plaque that your diet produced. You're going to be around in 12 years when this guy passes his first bloody stool from the colon cancer your meat-based diet spawned. You're going to be around in 15 years this lady's joints lights up with the inflammatory arthritis that your diet spawned. These guys won't even be around. But I asked them, now people lose weight and they do good initially. There's, hey, paleo, hey, keto. But I've asked, what are you really spawning these patients' arteries? What are you really cooking up in these patients' colon walls? What are you doing to their breast tissue, to their prostate tissue with all this meat and fat? What are you doing to the arteries in their brains? You're going to be around when the first signs of Alzheimer's appear? They won't be around. And so he asked what I think of the paleo folks, I think they're setting themselves up for an epidemic of colon cancer, of heart attacks and strokes, of lupus and autoimmune disease. All the fat's going to make them diabetic. The microbes that spawn are going to rip up their gut wall. They're going to get Crohn's disease and colitis, and I think they're going to see an epidemic of dementia from this style of eating. We are not carnivorous apes. We are not Homo carnivorous. We have essentially the same digestive system that our gorilla and bonobo cousins have. And they're up in the trees tonight eating leaves and fruit. We are plant-eating creatures. That is what our digestive system is designed to process. And when you start packing it full of animal flesh, you start eating the diet of the mountain lion instead of that of the gorilla, we can't be shocked when these diseases are spawned. Do no harm applies to dietary advice as well. Nobody's eating one of these paleo diets for 20 years, 30 years. Nobody's eating the keto diet. God, the thought of being in ketosis for 20 years is eye-watering. That's a dangerous, bizarre thing to do. Nobody's eating these diets. This is totally unproven, unresearched advice that you're being given. But on the contrary, how many people know about the blue zones? These are people around the world who live to be 100. These are the places where there are more centenarians, more healthy people than other places around. There's 5 classic blue zones here. These folks are eating a plant-based diet. They're not 100% vegan. They may have a little fish once a week or twice, but the majority of calories that goes down their gullet is sweet potatoes and grains and fruits and vegetables, things they grow out of their garden. They're eating plant-based diets. This man on Okinawa is a sweet potato farmer. He's 100 years old. This is what the Homo sapiens body should mature into. He's got open arteries, got low normal cholesterol, normal blood pressure. This is what the human being should turn into with a happy life and a health-producing diet. He's got a smile on his face. He's got good work to do in the garden. He's growing food for his family. When he goes home, the people at home know him and love him. This is the basis for a healthy life. But this fast food diet and the meat-based diet is a diet of death, and we show it every day. And yet, my noble profession lets you down. We practice medicine like what our patients are getting. Have no effect on these diseases. That's a stunning omission. It's a lethal one, too. It reduces the doctors, especially the specialists, God love them, in their cubicles, focused on their individual diseases. They've been reduced to blind men and the elephant. You know, the fable where blind men stumble upon the elephant. Each one grabs a different part. One with the elephant, one grabs his tail, the elephant's like a rope. One grabs the leg, the elephant's like a tree trunk. They all have hold of the same elephant. None of them have the faintest clue what a whole live elephant really is. Well, that's the problem with the medical specialists trying to figure out these diseases. They're in their cubicles, and the cardiologist sees the clogged arteries, and the internist sees the high blood pressure, and the physiatrist sees the inflammatory arthritis, the endocrinologist sees the type 2 diabetes, the rheumatologist sees the lupus, the dermatologist sees the psoriasis and the hives, the neurologist sees the dementia, the gastroenterologist sees the colitis and the Crohn's, the surgeon sees the diverticulitis. They're all trying to figure out, gee, my disease is special. But they're all noticing they're all winding up in the same tree here. They're all finding their particular disease. It has inflammation involved, and there's oxidative stress from the fats that are being oxidized, and there's free radical damage from all these processed foods. Gee, what is there a common thread? The point is they're all looking at the same disease. They're looking for the trees, and they don't realize they're in a forest of pathogenic foods that their patients are flushing through their tissues every 4 hours, and that's why, doctor, they're sitting in front of you with clogged arteries and big waistline and type 2 diabetes and inflamed joints and wheezy lungs. It's the food, it's the food, it's the food. This reduces the doctor to a state of frustration. They all get sick, they all get worse, they all need steroids, they all need grafts. That's right, doctor. You don't talk about what they're eating, that's what you're going to see. And they use these powerful drugs to suppress the symptoms, but nobody's getting to the cause. Because the real crime is against you folks, to the patient, because when their focus on on these high-techy molecular mechanisms deprives you of the one tool you need to get past all these diseases. And that's a whole food plant-based diet. If the doctor would tell you this and send you to the plant-based dietitian and let her guide you through the steps to getting a really healthy diet flow into your tissues, these diseases go away. We all see them as most dramatic, wonderful effects in all of medicine. The concept of disease reversal, I wish somebody had told me this when I was in medical school. But this is something that doctors should know about, they should strive for, and you need to know that this is possible, and you should demand, how do you reverse my diabetes? How do you reverse my high blood pressure? How do you reverse my clogged arteries? These are reversible diseases, and you don't deserve anything less than disease reversal. It starts with the food you're flowing through your tissues. I'm talking about a whole food plant-based diet. It's nothing exotic. You're already eating this. We're talking about breakfast, oatmeal and some fruit, with maybe almond milk or soy milk on it. Lunches and dinners are kind of the same. They have big, colorful salads, hearty vegetable soups, big plates of steamed green and yellow vegetables, lentil stews and stir fries and bean chilies. You have some hearty dark bread if you like, some fruit for dessert. This is the magic formula. Run this formula through your tissues day after day. Start with just a couple of weeks. The truth is, you run this fuel mixture through your tissues for 90 days and watch. I'll put a $100 bill on the table that most any symptom that you have, your sore joint, your running nose, your painful stools, whatever, it's going to go away. This is the power of food. This is the power of correcting a misdirected diet. So I'm going to talk specifically about how this works in some of these diseases. These, as I mentioned, these are common ones. I'm going to spend time on a couple of these in detail. How does it happen? And why does the reversal happen? Well, first of all, it's just kind of common sense. As I mentioned, the main toxic molecules are those that come from cooking animal flesh. And as soon as you elect to not be a flesh-eating ape and go to whole plant foods, these life and health endangering molecules are gone. The salt stops. Then hour after hour, day after day, the salt on your tissues, on your inflammatory reaction, fire gets put out. In its place, with every meal, you are now sending a wave of nutrients through your tissues that change everything in your body. First of all, this is a high water content diet, so your blood viscosity goes down. Your blood's less viscous, so it flows more easily. That increases oxygen delivery to your tissues. So right away, your brain, your muscles, your bone marrow, everybody's getting more oxygen. That makes things work better. The arachidonic acid that's in all animal muscle, it's gone. And instead, you get these omega-3 fats that are anti-inflammatory, and so the inflammatory balance in every one of your tissues changes. Instead of pro-inflammatory arachidonic acid, now you've got anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats. And that starts quenching the inflammatory fire in all of your tissues. The oxidative stress from these fats that oxidize, they're gone. The microbes in your gut change, and the good Prevotella get spawned, and they flourish, and the bad Bacteroides, they recede into the background. That changes everything in your gut, in your digestion, in your central nervous system. So mood often improves, as the microbes do. Your skin oils change. The fats you eat in your burgers and fried chicken get out into your skin oils. And that's what plugs up oil glands and sets off acne, sets off psoriasis. Well, that changes. You swap those out for plant oils that are much less viscous. And as a result, I'll show you in a minute, we often see acne go away, psoriasis gets better. The hormone levels change. Dairy products are all full of estrogen. The cows are pregnant. in the dairies now. Unlike when I was a kid, the cows are all pregnant with their next calf. So their milk is full of estrogens, and the cheese and the yogurt are full of cow estrogens. It gives women breast lumps and fibroids, and gives guys man boobs and promotes breast cancer. Well, take out the dairy. You don't need the milk of a cow anymore, you need the milk of a giraffe. Get rid of that, use almond milk or hemp milk, and the estrogen levels come down, the breast lumps go away, the fibroids start to shrink, the risk of prostate cancer goes down. Estrogens give guys prostate cancer. Your kidney function gets better. Hear this, high protein diets are toxic to the kidneys. Let me say that again, high protein diets injure the kidneys, especially these protein powders that the kids, the bodybuilders use, 100 grams of protein after a workout. Those amino acids slam into your kidney filters, into your glomeruli, and it injures them. And it makes the kidneys shift into this gear of hyperfiltration. This is not a good state for the kidneys, but it's working like putting jet fuel in a Volkswagen, and it makes those kidneys work too hard. And these folks who write themselves a ticket to the dialysis machine, these high protein folks. Well, that settles down, and we see kidney function get better. The asthmatic folks knows that the mucus in their lungs is thinner and less inflammatory, they wheeze less. Their immune system is just as strong as well, even though there's lower white blood counts for a good reason in the winter. So the fact is that changing from an animal-based diet to a plant-based diet changes everything in your body. It's a different body after a few weeks on a plant-based diet. And the changes we see are nothing short of spectacular. Within days, the obesity starts to melt away, and the arteries open up, and the high blood pressure comes down, and the joints stop hurting, and the psoriatic skin clears up, and the bowels start working again, and the diarrhea goes away, and people turn into normal, healthy people. All of us who practice lifestyle, we all have a bunch of Emilys in our practice. Here's Emily, she was obese, she was diabetic, she had angina. 11 months on a whole food plant-based diet. This Emily turned into that Emily. Normal weight, normal blood pressure, normal cholesterol, normal blood sugar, not diabetic, angina's gone. I tell this young student, what more could you want as a physician to help your patient transform from this to that? Is this not the essence of successful medical practice? When Emily would leave my office, she would leave and I would go, yes! That's what health's about, that's what true healing is about. And she did it herself. I didn't have anything to do with it. Her body knew, her smart choices made this happen. But this is what healing is really about. I'm going to be talking about diabetes and clogged arteries in a bit of detail yet. There's a lot of conditions I'm not going to be talking about fibromyalgia. It gets better on a whole food plant-based diet. I'm not going to be talking about vegans with elevated cholesterol. The liver may put out special cholesterol. It's benign. It doesn't hurt your arteries. It's not to worry about that. There's a lot that I'm not going to talk about. Go to my website, get into Dr. Furman's website, Dr. Barnard's website, check out the vegan docs, and you'll get the answers to your questions. But let me talk about some of the most dramatic changes that you need to know about. Here's Jim, used to be type 2 diabetic on 30 units of insulin, went on a whole food plant-based diet. This Jim in 8 months turned into this Jim. He's running marathons off his medicine and diabetes is gone. So let's talk about it. I imagine there's a few folks, I hear Polk County has a bit of diabetes as an issue. Let's talk about that, the true cause of it, and why a plant-based diet will make this disease go away. Want to be non-diabetic? Get off your insulin, get off your metformin. Here's how to do it. What's the problem? The problem, by and large, there are other factors, but overwhelmingly, the main problem in type 2 diabetes. Type 1, the pancreas has been injured, they're not making insulin. That's a different disease. This is the most common type 2. 90% of people with diabetes have this type 2. The problem, they make plenty of insulin. The problem is all the fat in their diet. Type 2 diabetes is a disease of fat toxicity. What do I mean? It's the chicken fat, it's the beef fat, it's the olive oil, it's the butter fat, it's the fat that we showed in the beginning. You keep your blood fatty, day after day after day, meal after meal, month after month. After a while, that fat starts infiltrating into the muscle cells and into the liver cells. Here's a muscle cell, and muscle cells burn sugar. And here you are out in the bloodstream, you ate an apple, you got glucose out in the bloodstream. You got to move the sugar molecules, the glucose into the muscle to burn it. So in order to do that, the pancreas puts out a little protein called insulin that locks into the insulin receptors, that sends a signal that opens up the doorway and lets the glucose in to be burned. Yay, that's the way it's supposed to work. But you keep your blood fatty, as I was telling you. The fat starts building up in the muscle, in the liver. And these yellow blobs here, this represents fat in the muscle cell. Fat is only a 3-letter word. We doctors like using much longer words, so we call it intramyocellular lipid. But that just means fat in the muscle cell. Okay? So the fat builds up in the muscle cell by keeping your blood fatty. So what? Well, the so what is that it clogs up the insulin receptors. It inhibits enzymes that allow the insulin to work. So the insulin knocks on the door, but nobody answers. And this is the one main problem with type 2 diabetes. The intramyocellular lipid is clogging up your insulin receptors. It's reversible, it will go away. The insulin receptors are still there, but they're all clogged up with fat. But there's another issue on top of it. Oh, by the way, this is not a theoretical consideration. Here's what it looks like under the microscope. This is intramyocellular lipid. It's been stained black with tungsten. This is muscle cells. This is fat in the muscle cell. It doesn't belong there. Okay? This is what type 2 diabetics have in their muscle cell. This is under a light microscope. Here it is under the electron microscope. Fat in the muscle cells cause type 2 diabetes in the liver cell. If you're interested, there's lots of studies talking about intramyocellular lipid with insulin resistance. Now, I hear Polk County has an issue with obesity. Obesity plays into type 2 diabetes. How does that happen? Obesity and I go back a while. I'm never obese, but I started practicing medicine in the late 60s, early 70s, and in the space of my medical career, I have witnessed this tsunami of obesity sweep through the American public. It's stunning. And we see obese people everywhere. God love them. I'm not fat shaming or anything. But it's become so common that instead of being concerned about it, we normalized it. Well, that's who we are now. We're fat. It's okay. Got a problem with that? Then you got it. It's your problem, not my problem. You've got a problem with my obesity, doc. You got a problem. And they would come into my office. Well, yeah, doc. I know I'm carrying too much. It's okay. It's okay. I'm okay with it. You may be okay with it, but it's not healthy. This is a plastic model of an obese abdomen. Here's what's really inside that obese abdomen. 2 kinds of fats in the abdomen. The fat under the skin, the subcutaneous fat, is metabolically active. It produces estrogens. It's the largest estrogen-secreting tissue in the body. If you are a woman with a breast lump, a guy with a prostate gland, or anyone, you do not want 30 pounds of estrogen-secreting fat plastered on your abdomen, pumping out estrogens that drive cancer growth throughout the body, as well as hurt your arteries as well. So this is the subcutaneous fat. But inside the abdomen is another kind of fat. The fat that wraps around the intestine, the intra-abdominal fat, that surrounds the organs there, they put out these molecules called inflammatory cytokines. And they cause mischief all over the body, but one thing they do is they interfere with the insulin receptors from the outside. So between the intramyocellular lipid clogging the insulin receptors up from the inside and the cytokines from the obese abdomen clogging up from the outside, no wonder obese people develop type 2 diabetes. These are just some of the diseases that cytokines drive. Abdominal fat is like having a living being in your body, and it's not your friend. It's pumping out molecules that fans inflammation and cancer growth throughout the body. This is a reversible disease. This will go away. Get on a whole food plant-based diet, they walk every day, trim the fat down, and diabetes goes away. Get off your pills, get off your insulin. Happens all the time. In fact, we not only can get people off their insulin, we got to get them off their insulin. They'll have hypoglycemic reactions. They don't. So let's talk about weight loss. Because you can go to Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers all you want. The definitive treatment for obesity is a whole food plant-based diet. It's so low in calories. How many apples can you eat? How much salad can you eat? How much rice can you eat? How many beans can you eat? The stomach only holds barely a quart. Keep it filled with whole plant fiber, and it's mostly fiber and water you're eating. And you wind up lean and healthy. And whether you go back for a fourth bowl of vegetable soup or not, it doesn't matter. Vegetables, the fiber and water, and you pee it right out. It doesn't stick to you. That's the beauty of this style of eating. You can eat all you want, as long as it's whole plant foods, and you're going to wind up lean and healthy. You don't have to count calories, there's no portion control. It doesn't matter if you go back for another helping of salad or another scoop of bean chili. It just doesn't matter, it doesn't stick to you. It will not turn into fat. So, if you're trying to lose weight, the trick is keep your belly full of high water content foods, lots of Simpson salads and greens and fruits. The 4 foods that are keeping people fat and heavy are dairy products, oils, flour products from the bakery, and meat and dairy and eggs. Get rid of these, fill your belly up with this, and weight loss takes care of itself. It's not about losing weight, it's about eating healthy. And it's low calorie density food, and you wind up lean and healthy. Wouldn't it be nice to, when's the last time you got out of the shower and caught a glimpse of yourself naked getting out and looked in the mirror and went, yeah! This kind of eating will get you there. A leaner body follows automatically. It happens. Okay, so make it easy on yourself. Eat and go thin. Type 2 diabetes can be reversed. Absolutely, it's a reversible disease. We'll go into studies too much. They compared a vegan diet, the blue line, with the American Diabetic Association diet. The folk on the vegan diet, they lost more weight. This is after a year and a half. They lost more weight. Their A1C came down better. Their LDL improved. People get better on a whole food plant-based diet, and diabetes goes away. Even bad old diabetic neuropathy, where the nerves are on fire, they're such agonizing pain, that goes away on a whole food plant-based diet, as Dr. Crane made clear here. Your skin oils change, and the dairy is eliminated. The dairy is so key. When I was in high school, don't eat chocolate, it'll give you acne. They were right, but it wasn't because of the sugar in the cocoa, it was because of the milk that was in the chocolate. It turns out that the milk protein, the lactobumin in the casein, turns on genes that make you secrete IGF-1, that puts out a very acid skin oil secretion that plugs up the glands and causes acne. Get the dairy out and a couple other allergenic foods, and skin like this can turn into skin like that. We see this all the time. Psoriasis, another disease driven by a lot of the free radicals and cooked meats, etc., and processed foods, that frequently gets much, much better on a whole food plant-based diet. And now I want to share with you the most dramatic improvement that happens, and this is a symbol for what can happen on the good side in your arteries. And this is they say you're as old as your arteries. That's an absolutely true statement. A person's as old as their arteries. Atherosclerotic disease is the biggest killer in America. Every 30 seconds in this country, someone has a heart attack, falls over, and dies. And the cardiologist, it's a relentlessly progressive disease. Once you get those plaques, man, nothing slows it down. It's just a matter of when you're going to need your stent, when you're going to need your bypass, and just jack their stent doses up and hope they don't have their stroke when you're on call. This is how cardiology is handled these days. Apologies for the snarkiness, but that they don't really have much to offer besides statin and sympathy. And you are told the fantasy that people get this disease because your LDL is too high. Well, your liver's making too much LDL, let's poison your liver enzymes so they don't make LDL, and you'll be fine. But yet, you can drop people's cholesterols down to 150 on statins, and they still have their heart attacks. Why is that? Because the high LDL is not the cause of the disease. These lesions aren't caused by high LDL. These are inflammatory lesions. These arteries are being injured. Meal after meal of fried chicken and buffalo wings and fried cooking grease and cooked animal protein and high fructose corn syrup and the drinks, the phosphoric acid, the cola drinks, the emulsifiers that keep the candy bars soft, all these chemicals, as they wash through your tissues after you eat them, they injure the endothelial lining here. That allows those oxidized cholesterol particles from the cooking of the meat to penetrate into the wall of the artery that sets off this inflammatory lesion in response. This is artery abuse. It's the way the owner of the arteries is treating those arteries. That's why this disease is happening. It's not because they have bad genes and their LDL's too high. They're kidding themselves. And it's largely the cooked animal products that injure the artery walls and make the plaque build up until the clot forms. Relentlessly progressive. Nonsense! This is an eminently reversible disease. Here's how it's reversed. Here's what to do. Guess what? Adopt a whole food plant-based diet. And the real magic in this food, all have their magic, fiber, etc. But the real star of this show are the dark green, leafy, and yellow vegetables. Why? Because they are filled with antioxidants. And as Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn published in Journal of Family Practice back about 6 years ago now, about reversing disease. And this is Dr. Esselstyn, if you have clogged arteries or you love somebody who does, please get this book and read it cover to cover and follow his advice to the letter. And your plaques will melt away. Here's how, and here's why. As I mentioned, the key are the antioxidants in the green and yellow vegetables. They neutralize free radicals, these atomic particles that cause inflammation. Here's the whole story. This is the wall of your artery. Here's the inflammation and the inner edge, and here's those oxidized LDL particles from the cooked meats. They work their way into the wall of the artery through the damaged endothelial membrane, and their presence in the artery wall summons in these white blood cells to eat them up, but in doing so they create more free radicals, more reactive oxygen species, and that's where the atherosclerotic lesion blossoms from. Well, under Dr. Esselstyn's plan, first of all, it's a whole food plant-based diet. Pull out the animal products. Stop the assault. Stop the oxidized cholesterol. Stop the free radicals. Stop the assault. And then he has his people eat a few forkfuls of steamed kale or broccoli a few times during the day, 3-4 times during the day. What that does is keep a steady stream of antioxidants like resveratrol in the bloodstream constantly. Day after day, week after week, you've got these antioxidants in your blood. Well, as time goes on, they work their way into the wall of the artery, they find the free radicals and neutralize them. Once there's no more free radicals, there's no reason for these cells to be around, so they leave, they outmigrate, they leave the plaque. And as a result, the plaque gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And that damaged endothelial lining reestablishes itself. It gets healthier, not by magic, but because your bone marrow is constantly putting out showers of stem cells that reupholster the arteries like new paving stones and turn your arteries back into healthy tubes again. And so that leads to arteriograms that look like this. What you're looking at is an x-ray taken after they injected dye into the left anterior descending artery of the heart of a man, a 46-year-old man, who had such severe angina, his arteries were so clogged up that he couldn't walk across the stage without taking a nitroglycerin tablet to dilate his blood vessels. Why? The entire dye column, the entire artery should look like this, but these ratty parts here, these are plaques encroaching into the blood flow channel. His blood flow channel was so narrow here that he couldn't deliver enough oxygenated blood to the tissue downstream. He went on Dr. Esselson's diet. He jumped in, boots in, no cheating, lots of greens, lots of beans, lots of fruits, vegetables, etc. Took a walk every day. 22 months later, the plaques had melted away, and this artery, same person, turned into this artery. This is a reversible disease. Everybody needs to know this. The cardiologist needs to know this, and the owners of the arteries need to know this. Your arteries are never not looking. They know what you're eating. Shakespeare said that I want health be true. Dr. Klaper said, I want health be true. I want arteries be true. We are meant to live on plants. Send a healthy plant-based diet for these arteries, and they get healthy. This is the scan of the blood flow. The heart, red is good blood flow. There's very little blood flow. Went on a whole food plant-based diet for 14 days. Arteries open up, and this scan turns into that scan. And after just 2 weeks, arteries all over the body. Arteries all over the body open up, much to the delight of people at home. But seriously, erectile dysfunction, macular degeneration can improve. Everywhere there's artery disease, it gets better. And Alzheimer's disease is basically a disease of blood vessels. These two people died the same age. This person did not have Alzheimer's. Here's what his arteries look like. This person had Alzheimer's. This is what their arteries look like. There's a huge vascular component to Alzheimer's disease. Take care of your arteries. Now, why doesn't your doctor know anything about this? Why do I have to be going to med schools and telling this? We're not taught anything about it. They're so busy trying to cram surgery and biochemistry into these things. Nutrition, boring. Send her to the dietitian. She'll take care of it. We don't teach it. They don't respect it as a science. It's a sissy science. It's not, I'm going to be a surgeon. I'm going to be up in the OR doing real medicine. Nutrition, boring stuff. And ironically, for that little piece of arrogance, that young surgeon's going to spend the rest of his surgical career up in the operating room at 3 in the morning, dealing with the infections and the infarctions and the amputations from what their patients are eating. They're all going to be dealing with nutrition-based diseases their whole career. And finally, the doctors eat the same foods themselves. They don't want to stop eating their burgers and their pizzas and their lobsters and their steaks, and they'll mention it to their patients. And this is what we're up against. This cannot stand. This has to change. Because it's just a matter of time before some angry widow walks into the office of a cardiologist or a cardiothoracic surgeon, says, my husband died on that operating table last month during a 4-vessel coronary artery bypass, and nobody told us he could have melted this plaque away with a plant-based diet. Why didn't somebody tell us this? Why was this information withheld from us? When did you people know this? How long has this been in the medical literature? 25 years. And she'll lodge a wrongful death suit. I think she ought to win that suit. This is a wrongful death, because we're all wrongful deaths. But people are not told about the power of what a plant-based diet can do to restore their health. And this is the transgression my profession is perpetrating on you folks. This is a kid from my practice, big fat fella on medication for his diabetes and high blood pressure, 12 weeks, plant-based diet, office pills, 25 pounds lighter, and symptom-free. So I tell the young docs, before you order another $1,000 scan, another $500 lab test, stop and ask the patient what they ate yesterday, because that's why they're sitting in front of them. I tell the young docs, even if you don't believe this yourself, you at least owe the patient a 3-page handout on the way out the door. By the way, why get rid of your diabetes? Why get rid of your high blood pressure? Why get rid of your lupus? Here. And I give them my 3-page handout. It's on my website. You can download it. Go to Lakeland.com, click on resources. This is basically how healthy diets work. This is a full day of healthy eating. And you go to these websites, you see these videos, and you'll know what to do. You know, and then, for the young people in the audience, and those who are concerned about losing muscle mass, and the athletes, I know that's a concern. Well, the vegans are all skinny, scrawny folks. And I don't want to lose my muscle. I need my steak for my protein. And they are very skeptical. I will point out the simple biological fact that the biggest, strongest, most powerful animals on planet Earth, elephants, buffaloes, giraffes, gorillas, grow to thousands of pounds of mammalian muscle without ever eating cheeseburgers or pepperoni pizzas. Every ounce of muscle on these magnificent creatures came out of plant foods. The amino acids and the protein are growing out of the ground and the grains and legumes and fruits and grasses these animals eat. The nutrients are in the plants. Well, they're animals. Their bulls are supposed to be big. Oh my God. If you want some reassurance that you can build rippling muscles on plant-based fuels, fire up your web browser and type in 3 words, vegan bodybuilders, and see who shows up on your screen. Do any of these lovely people look protein deficient to you? I know them all, they're all lovely people. I will call your attention to Jim Morris at age 61. Here's Jim Morris at age 71. Last year I was 71, I looked just like this. I'm 72, I cycle 10 miles a day, I do my yoga, do my push-ups, and I'm not on any medication, I have no blood pressure, no cholesterol. I eat plants, no big deal, this is the way the body's supposed to age. And I would urge you, if you have any doubts, get on Netflix and see this amazing film called Game Changers. And you'll see these remarkable athletes do these spectacular athletic endeavors on plant-based foods. Leave that old caveman idea behind that you got to be to be a he-man. It's simply not true. A whole food plant-based diet is where it's at. We're wrapping up here. The Kaiser Permanente knows that even if 10% of their patients go plant-based, they will save billions of dollars in chest not open, scans not done, ICU beds not occupied. And so they are pushing their doctors to promote plant-based diets for their patients. The Kaiser knows about this. And let me introduce some unsung heroes. Plant-based dietitians hold the key to a successful patient outcome as well as a viable medical system. I tell them, because the doctors I give this lecture to, they said to them, well, I don't know anything about nutrition, I don't know anything about plant-based nutrition, I don't have time to do this, I don't get paid to do this, it's a non-starter, doctor. And I tell them, doctor, you don't have to know anything about this. Just understand that that patient sitting in front of you, obese and hypertensive and clogged up and diabetic and inflamed, is there because of what they're eating, the standard Western diet. Refer her to the plant-based dietitian. Let her do the counseling. Let her show them the videos. Let her take them shopping. Let her fill up their freezer. And you see the patient back in a month and see if they're doing better, which they will be. The plant-based dietitians take away the doctor's excuses. God bless them. And so all I did was Google plant-based dietitians in Western Florida, and look who showed up. This little green tag says vegan, 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 vegan. These are all vegan, and they all have RD after their name. These are all registered dietitians. And if you can't read it in the back here, St. Petersburg, Plantation, Sarasota, Aventura, Ocala, Plantation, Sarasota, Aventura, Ocala. Oops, this one is, well, they're all around here. Slide cut them off. They exist. Find them. If you're a physician, make friends with one, send your patients to them, let her do the counseling, you see them back, and watch them get healthy. You've got some local resources here. Debbie Zimmerman, who introduced me, she runs FighterFit. She'll walk you through getting healthy. The folks at Polk Wellness Professionals have lots of connections with the plant-based community. And Bless Chat Machine folks, they run this wonderful organization. It takes great vital energy into more plants. So you've got resources right here. It's time to leave caveman thinking about plants. say the least. It's not hard if you are a newbie to this whole thing. Get on Netflix and see a film called Forks Over Knives. The fork is your dinner fork, the knife is a scalpel going down your chest for a bypass. You want the fork over the knife, let me tell you. And not only will this change your life, but buy a disc and give it to your doctor and let her see this. And you'll open up her head to it as well. Then go to their website, go to the Forks Over Knives website. They got recipes and meal planners. They will walk you through it. It's not that hard to do. If you're especially a health professional, take a picture of this slide. Every one of these websites is filled with information on plant-based eating. They will all lead you to where you need to go. Some excellent books that will do this. And if you're a real serious student of it, go on the website of the University of Winchester in England. They have a 6-week course in applied plant-based nutrition that is just superb. And you'll really know what you're talking about. If you're a health professional, you should take this course. This is the Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine. 10 of your diabetic patients here. Doctors will find plenty of CME here. PCRM has evidence-based eating data for weight control, for type 2 diabetes, for reversing heart disease. This is their app. Get it on your cell phone. Got a patient with lupus, plug in, punch in lupus and tell you what to eat. Got a patient with high blood pressure, punch in high blood pressure, tells them what to eat. It's a brilliant utility. Here's UC Davis's course on plant-based nutrition. Here's my friends in Rochester, New York, doing a whole practice on plant-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine. This is a happening thing in medicine. You need to know this is happening. The health professionals certainly need to know this. Here's the Plantrition Project. They meet once a year in California. 1,000 doctors from around the world came, and we invite you to come this September to Palm Desert, and you'll meet lots of plant-based doctors from around the world. American College of Lifestyle Medicine is also pro-plant-based. They're meeting in Scottsdale next February. There's a movement of health happening in the medical profession. This is an international, global organization, PAN. So, where does this leave us? I tell the young students, once you look behind the curtain, you can't pretend you don't know what's behind the curtain. My job is to rip that curtain down. It says the food your patients are eating, the food you folks are eating, I mean we're all eating. That's by far the main determinant of health or disease. Yes, you gotta stop smoking, you need enough sleep, you get rid of stress, take a walk every day. Yes, all the other lifestyle things are important. But what you run through your tissues every meal dwarfs everything else. And it's your most powerful tool for healing, for reversing these diseases. So I get to the point in the lecture where I ask a provocative question, especially to the attending physicians who are there. I say, knowing that you're going to be seeing these patients with these diseases all your career, and now knowing that they are eminently reversible with a whole food plant-based diet, you want to heal these patients or don't you? Really, doctor? Why don't you go into medicine? Why don't you heal these folks? To get real about why they're sitting in front of you, get real about what they're eating, and get them to the plant-based dietitian, get them on a plant-based diet, and watch these diseases go away. If you do, and you get them on a disease-reversing diet, you'll be the happiest doctor you know. I'm the happiest doctor I know. My patients get healthy. I am the happiest doctor I know. And I invite them to become the happiest doctor they know, or invite you to become the healthiest person you know. It's happening. The plant-based wave is breaking, so light up your surfboard, reverse your disease, and get healthy. You'll stay out of the clutches of people like me. So, if you want to know more about what we're doing, go to my website and click on Moving Medicine Forward, and you'll help us move medicine forward. Been a lot of stuff here right now, but I wanted to deliver this package. I don't know when I'll be in Lakeland again. I don't know when I'll be standing in front of you again. But I want to give you this understanding. I want to give you this power that you have with every choice you make. When you're pushing that cart down the supermarket aisle, deciding what goes in that basket, or you're sitting at the restaurant with that menu in front of you, deciding what to eat. This is that moment. These are the two moments where you can choose health or disease. And if you choose health, miracles will happen in your body, and you'll be the one to create it. So that's what I want to deliver. If you have questions, I'm around for that. But thank you.
Use the other one. Use the one in your hand. One in your hand. Yes.
We have some sound microphones. We can make that light fly.
Hello? Okay. All right, Dr. Klaper, first of all, thank you so much for all the wonderful information and for the time. We really appreciate it. Thank you. We want to make sure that you know that because of the generous support of all of our sponsors that will be donating $2,000 to Plant Care Communities and your mission of moving medicine forward. So we're thrilled to be able to do that. If anyone else feels so moved, as we said, please visit Dr. Klaper's website and make a donation to help him in his mission. Anyone have a question that you'd like? Okay, I'm going to take this down there.
I developed type 2 diabetes after a year of Lupron shots for prostate cancer. Is there any chance of reversing that?
Yes, he's asking about with prostate cancer. Is there anything that will help? By help of fortune, I did show you the biopsy of a man with prostate cancer. And the fact that that's responsive is a huge lesson for people like you. The reason why plant-based diets help people, especially with prostate cancer, will magically cure them and make it all fade away, don't know. We certainly see that. But there's two things. One, without eating meat, you take away that drive for the liver to produce this IGF-1 hormone. And this is a growth-promoting hormone. It's a juvenile hormone. When you're growing, you want lots of IGF-1 in your tissues to help you grow. And young cans and young growing animals have lots of IGF-1. Yay, that's great. But if you're an adult man with a prostate cancer, then you need more IGF-1, like custard needed more Indians, more big one. And so getting on a plant-based diet drops the IGF-1 level down. Wonderful. Second, prostate cancer, breast cancer, these are hormone-driven cancers. And the meat, not only do they give sex hormones to the steers, they feed estrogen to the chickens. These are female animals, so the meat is full of both estrogens and male hormones, and these drive the prostate cancer. Well, those disappear on a plant-based diet. And so that's why we often see these dramatic remissions in prostate cancer and breast cancer. So the answer is yes, you got nothing to lose. No guarantees in life, but the diet will do what the Lupron was trying to do, and block the action of the androgens. Well, just pull a lot of the androgens out there with a healthier diet and see if things don't get a lot better. Thank you. Good luck.
I've been vegan for probably about the last year, mostly vegan, and I'm having a problem with anemia, I'm becoming anemic now. My red blood cells are going down, and my hemoglobin's going down. So I'm kind of like borderline anemic. Yeah.
Well, all right. So anemia is defined as a clinically low, a significantly low level of hemoglobin in the blood. It's usually got to be below 10 grams to be called official anemia. Now, vegans run lower red counts. Their blood flows so much more easily, and they get such better oxygen delivery to their tissues that they need fewer red cells. They're also not obese. Obese people don't move their lungs very well, and so their bone marrow puts out extra red cells to make up for that. Well, lean vegans, they get plenty of oxygen into their blood, so that also takes away the drive for their bone marrow to pump out lots of extra red cells. So it freaks out the family doctor. and it freaks out the hematologist. Oh my God, you got a low, it's normal. Remember, all the normal values that we see on the lab slips, these are all done on populations of Joe six-pack meat-eating Americans who are eating cholesterol and saturated fat with every meal. And so the normal level for cholesterol, for red blood cells, these are all jacked upward. They're normal in the mathematical sense, is what most people have, but it does not equal healthy. So if she's got a hemoglobin of 11, 10.9, I'm not terribly concerned about that at this point, as long as you can function the way you want. If it keeps going down, then they need to do an official workup as far as, are you losing blood anywhere? Do you have a little polyp in your colon? Is there any blood loss happening? But by and large, if it holds at 10.9, then that's fine for you. It's just don't lose sleep over it. Okay? Okay.
What are your thoughts on drinking waters, especially alkaline?
On drinking water, I'm all for drinking water. Yay! And I encourage you to, seriously, we don't drink enough water. And I think a lot of that tissue aging, especially in the brain, in the kidneys, is a low-grade dehydration as the years go by. And we eat lots of salt and lots of sugar, and that dehydrates us more. So water drinking is important. And I never was a water drinker. I'm still not really by nature. But I get up in the morning, my wife will attest, the first thing I do is head to the water dispenser and 2 big glasses of water. Go down the first thing every morning. So I start my day off with 2 glasses of water. And I try to drink as much water as I can. It really is important. Keep your urine nice and clear as you can. Alkaline water is unnecessary and it's a scam. You do not need to alkalize your water. If you want to do that, add a pinch of sodium bicarbonate to a gallon of water, but you don't need a $6,000 alkalizing machine to do that. There's no advantage to that at all.
My family and I recently changed over to a plant-based diet, and I'm also breastfeeding her. So my question was, I guess 2 in 1, how do you feel about pregnant women and breastfeeding on a plant-based diet? Because I feel like my doctors are kind of leery towards that. And also how you feel about organic produce versus non-organic, knowing that they have a lot more pesticides and things like that.
2 very important questions. So how do we feel about breastfeeding on a plant-based diet? Fine. I've delivered 400 plus babies, and 30 of them have been to vegan moms, and watched their breastfeed. They have no problem whatsoever. And it's such a high water content diet that you wind up producing lots of milk, and so it's just not an issue. Plus, at the risk of saying probably what you already know, it's getting really spooky when they check mother's breast milk for pesticides these days. It's frightening. And where do most pesticides come from? It comes from the meat. It comes from the dairy. These animals bioconcentrate. So the meat-eating women are putting more pesticides into their breast milk and wind up in the baby. The beautiful thing about a plant-based diet is much lower pesticides, which brings us to her second question about organic versus non-organic. And again, we're known as the society that grew its food with poisons. It's so bizarre how we grow our food. And we're not gentle or respectful to our soils, to say the least. So I'm a big fan of organic produce. But well, it's more expensive. Listen, if you're not shelling out money for steaks and for cheese and for ice cream, then you got a few pennies to pay the extra nickel for the organic broccoli. And it makes me feel good that I'm supporting the organic farmers who are taking care of the soils and growing their food responsibly. So I'm a big fan of organic produce. So what if you're in a restaurant and they serve you a salad that's not organic? Eat the salad. There's more beneficial, you're going to get more benefit out of eating that salad than you will harm from the tiny amount of pesticides that particular salad has. So don't not eat food because it's not organic, but go for the organic as much as you possibly can. Thank you. Good question.
Hi, I'm Grace Cook. I wanted to thank you so much for being here today. As an aspiring physician, this is a topic that's very concerning to me. I actually missed most of your presentation because I was at a med school interview, which got scheduled after the presentation. So forgive me if these questions were answered early in the presentation, but I have 2 questions for you. First of all, as an aspiring physician, what can I do for my patients and what can I do for my medical school as far as on a day-to-day basis with my patients and as far as my education to bring this forward? And then I have a question about vitamins.
The sound all blurred together here. Talk to say as long. Okay, so she's asked what can she do to help her patients make this transition and at her medical school. A taste is worth 1,000 words. I have colleagues who are to help their patients make this transition. They realize in the evening their offices are empty. So they will put out a notice to their patients. We're having a plant-based cooking class Tuesday evening at my office. And right in the waiting room in the office there, they set up a card table and they plug in a blender and a hot plate and they show these folks how to make smoothies and salad dressings and how to do a quick stir fry and they pass the food around so everybody can taste it and give them handouts, show them movies and show them force over knives, etc. So the patients leave going, oh, so that's how you do that, so that's what it tastes like. And so some little extra effort certainly goes a long way. I've got other docs who go to the local library, to the YMCA, any place they can find a free lecture room, and they give these classes. So educate your patients. I've got a friend of mine who's got a little closed-circuit TV, and Forks Over Knives is playing on a continuous loop in the waiting room. And so everybody who's sitting there is just watching Forks Over Knives. Have you seen this film? You really need to. Okay, right. All right, fair enough. So where there's a will, there's a way. Find a way to let your patients know that you really care about them and that you're willing to teach them and make it happen on some kind of teaching level. Your colleagues, tougher nut to crack, invite me into your school and let me give them this lecture. But go to the curriculum committee and say, we need to know something about clinical nutrition. They're going to start asking on the national boards. On every rotation that you're on, whether it's pediatrics, internal medicine, nephrology, whatever, you start asking nutrition-based questions. How do you think the patient's diet is contributing to this disease? Keep asking that question. Make the doctors think about this and know the answer to yourself. Oh, well, there's nothing to do with what the patient had. Well, really? Well, I just saw last night, I checked, and there's 4 studies showing that people who eat high-fat diets wind up with more type 2 diabetes. What do you think about this, doctor? And educate your professors, but know you'll do the work, the homework yourself. But it's a strange, tough time. You shouldn't have to have asked that question. I shouldn't be up here having to do all this. Medical school should be teaching this. But we got to pull them into the 21st century, and so it's going to involve doctors like you making the effort. Good luck. Okay, thank you.
Is this working? So she was late. If anyone else was late, please know Dr. Klaper generously allowed us to tape this, and we will be posting it online as well. So you'll be able to see it again and share it with your friends and family.
Good evening, doctor. How can I be sure I'm consuming enough protein with a plant-based diet?
How do you know? Fair enough. Such an important question. How do you know you're consuming enough protein? Plants are made of protein. Beef is about 17% protein. Beans are 12% protein, 14% protein. Grains are 11% protein. Green vegetables by calorie count are 8% protein. What it comes down to is that if you are eating 2,000 calories, which we all should, of whole plant foods, you are going to be getting 50 to 80 grams of high-grade protein. It's in the food. You can't help it. It's in there. That's broccoli is made of protein. Rice is made of protein. So as long as you're eating whole foods, if you're eating granola bars and energy drinks, all bets are off. But if it's whole foods, just eat your calorie allotment, and the proteins will take care of itself. We only need about 30 grams of protein a day. There's more than that in 2,000 calories of whole plant foods. You're welcome. Good question.
I am a person who has autoimmune issues, specifically dysautonomia, POTS.
You have autoimmune issues?
POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
What kind of arthritis? I'm sorry, the sound is... Right, concentrate, right, yeah. Well, you got a special medical condition for right now. This is going to go away. It's reversible, absolutely. And so you may use a little extra salt now, but you get on a really good diet, take a good walk every day, and watch what 90 days brings. No, you need both cooked and raw foods. You can't do it all on raw foods, but you can't do it all on cooked foods either. You need a big salad every day, and you need some cooked. There's no real oils that you need, no. And they can injure your arteries. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Matt Rivera, and from the age of 16, as a junior in high school, I started finding out that I was having these issues and symptoms, and I ended up finding out that I was diagnosed with a grade 3 anaplastic astrocytoma brain cancer. And I'm 25 years old now. It's been 9 years and 4 years off of all the chemo and stuff like that, and the tumor and the MRIs have been stable, but I'm just kind of wondering, like, what next? Like, I know that you're not probably a neuro-oncologist or anything like that, but I was just curious. I've been eating a plant-based diet pretty much primarily with the help of my mother, like for about the past 7 years.
Just because one's eating a plant-based diet does not mean that we are immune from all medical malfunctions in our body. And where did this thing come from? You know, when you were 6 years old, you might have been out on your bicycle and a diesel bus went by and you inhaled the fumes and it set off a cancer. Something happened, a virus in the water, something happened. And again, just because you're on a plant-based diet doesn't mean that everything, you live forever without medical issues. It still makes sense, no matter what you have, first of all, it's got to be a really healthy whole food plant-based diet, depending on what you've been eating.
Full of dark green leafies and beans, sir.
I'm sorry?
Very full of dark green leafies and beans, sir. DGLs and beans.
Great, wonderful. Keep doing that for the next 50 years and you'll be fine. Seriously, a low protein diet will keep your IGF-1 levels down, and that's the best thing you can do to keep this thing from growing.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay? Are you scheduled for any more chemo or radiation or anything?
No, nothing like that. I was all early stage, when I was fighting at first, and then I stopped. And now I'm starting to see the side effects of those things, of like late-term radiation effects and stuff like that.
I'm missing the last things.
I'm starting to see the side effects of late-term radiation and stuff like that, even now in my life. Side effects of cranial radiation. Fun stuff. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good luck.
And I really wanted to be sarcastic and ask you, what's up, Doc?
Hi, hello. So this is a question from a student perspective, actually aspiring to be someday, hopefully a nutritionist, So like, how long did it take you to actually become comfortable enough in your skin to actually create this initiative and actually try to teach people like the importance. Okay, I just want everyone to the importance of actually taking into consideration what you're putting into your body. How long did it take you to be comfortable enough to actually give these lectures and things like that to the population, considering how strict our mindsets are to something like eating meat, how the importance of it, you know what I mean?
How did I come to the point of Right. I became vegan in 1981. I was a resident in anesthesiology in Vancouver. And I'm on the cardiovascular service, and that deals with people's hearts and blood vessels. And day after day, I'm putting people to sleep, and I'm watching surgeons open up their chest, open up their arteries, and their heart pull this yellow, greasy gunk out of their arteries. And I knew what that stuff was, atherosclerosis, that was largely dietary. And one day I'm watching the surgeon pull out this particularly rubbery, slithery piece of gunk out of the arteries. I'm thinking to myself, man, that stuff looks like chicken fat. And the little voice on my shoulder says, there's a good reason why it looks like chicken fat, doctor. It is chicken fat. And cow fat, and pig fat, and the fat of all the slow animals that's been eating. And he had a fork in his hand. And my dad died of clogged arteries. I knew I was going to be laying on that operating table with that striker sauce running out my stomach. And I didn't want that. So I was getting a message that you should change your diet. There were already studies in the journal showing that a plant-based diet will reverse artery disease. At the same time, I had done a lot of my training in the trauma unit at Cook County Hospital in Chicago, and I saw the worst that humans do to each other. And I made a vow back in med school to, if I couldn't get the violence out of the world, at least get out of my own life. So I decided to, as much as I could, live a life of nonviolence. And so I started reading Mahatma Gandhi and the Indian saints about living a life of nonviolence and ahimsa. And one evening in Vancouver, I'm out with a friend of mine, and I'm pontificating about living a life of nonviolence while I'm polishing off a porterhouse steak that they cake in Klaper. And Johnson said, that's all wonderful, Michael, but if you really want to get the violence out of your life, you might want to start with that piece of meat on your plate, because in satisfying your desire for the taste of flesh in your mouth, you are paying for the death of the animal and for the next one in line at the slaughterhouse. And as soon as he said that, all the old rationalizations in my head, oh, well, the animal's dead already, and that's what they raised them for, all this came in my head. But before the words could come out of my lips, that little voice said, you know, he's right. He's right. And when I went up to pay for the steak dinner, I felt complicit in the crime, because I had grown up in a dairy farm. I know the violence involved in getting meat on the plate. I saw the bull shot in the head. I chopped the heads off chickens. There's no non-violent way to produce meat. And I was part of it. And every time you pay for a steak, you're paying for that. And between what I was seeing in the operating room and what I knew in my heart from that restaurant scene, it was time to stop eating animals. And so I did. Within 12 weeks, a 20-pound spare tire of fat melted off my waist. My high blood pressure went to normal. My high cholesterol went to normal. I felt great waking up in a nice new body. And I realized that I didn't want to be an anesthesiologist and put people to sleep all day. I'd rather go back to general practice and help them wake up. And so I did. I left my anesthesia training and went back to general practice. And that was 36 years ago. And 34 years ago, yes. And I haven't looked back since. So I brought that to my medical practice and watched my patients get leaner and healthier, got them off their medications, and became a plant-based doc. Because once you look behind the curtain, there's no place else to go. You want to get people healthier, you don't. And so God bless all the surgeons and ER docs and all those folks who do the acute care medicine. But the bigger picture involves talking to people about what they're eating. So after my own experience, I could speak with authority, and I knew it was the right thing to do. I saw what it did in my own body. And so that's where it came from. And then I read some books. Diet for New America by John Robbins makes the connection for you about what meat is doing to the planet. And as a passionate environmentalist, I can no longer pay for the destruction of the planet with a meat-based diet. So all these big forces were doing, there was nothing else to do besides become a plant-based doc. And the happiest doc in no sense. You need to be on a whole food plant-based diet, seriously. All processed foods are, I think, the culprit here, somewhere along the line. You have a big salad every day, you have a big bowl of vegetable soup every day, you have rice and beans and greens and quinoa and all those lovely plant-based foods. And stay away from the oils and restaurant food, the most notorious for food. Well, how high, what kind of high cholesterol, high blood pressure do you have? Your cholesterol and your blood pressure?
It's usually around 1 or 3.
Oh, that's not high.
Well, one time, and one other time, I saw it went all the way up to 1.
Yeah, go up and down. You've got a reactive vascular system. Is there any got that in your family? People, others, folks? Right. And have you had a proper medical workup? They checked out your kidneys?
That's the crazy part. It's like I went to a cardiologist.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right. The day that you were there?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Okay.
He's like, what's wrong with you? I don't want you. Everything's perfect.
Right. Well, that's good. It means that things, come back down. It's not a fixed hypertension. It's not a fixed. You're someone who might do well with intermittent fasting is don't eat breakfast. Keep on fasting all till, yeah. It doesn't have to do with your mother. We're talking about you and your arteries here. And you just say, no thank